All right, guys, coming back at you, showing you what I've got a Trench Crusade miniature down here. He's he's got his Lee Enfield rifle, shoulder guards, whatever. I primered him white because with my army painter, and I need to figure out where the best place to put him is, like right there. And then back here, I've got him primered. He's going to be pretty easy to paint, I guess. This is a Dark Sword Victorian Greyjoy, and I kind of dig it. I mean, I don't know. The plastic one's got a cooler helmet, maybe, but still, having a spare Victorian. And then, of course, I've got, Balin. I just put him together, Balin Greyjoy. And I've got a body from something I 3D printed a long time ago that's getting ready here in a minute to become a pilgrim. Now, somebody did post on my last video about Trench Crusades and said that they were not comfortable with a lot of the lore because, in their opinion, it's kind of like hard to decide who the good guys and the bad guys are. I kind of wrestled with that myself a little bit, so I totally get where the guy's coming from. But ultimately, I decided that, the Trench Pilgrims are the good guys. Now, do they do everything the good way? I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But they are definitely the guys that are willing to sacrifice their lives to fight against the forces of hell. And on top of that, they absolutely serve God. Now, one thing I don't get is the whole meta Christ thing. There's three Christs that they cloned, blah blah blah. Because, I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous. Let's be honest. But okay, fine, whatever. However, it's just like, yeah, I don't care for that. I'll be honest. That's not something I'm like, oh, yay. You've managed to clone Christ the Savior multiple times, and you're using his blood and flesh to create, monstrosities and war machines, right? Now, the guys that are like willing to sacrifice their lives for the good of humanity, those guys I don't have a problem with. And the guys that are willing to suffer extreme pain to power war machines and stuff like that, those guys I really don't have a problem with. I kind of can totally see where they're going with that, But yeah, the Metachrist thing is just a little bit too weird, in my opinion. Just a little too weird. It's like, really? I mean, that. And here's the thing: I know we're talking about like magic and stuff, but the idea of cloning Christ, I don't know how that actually helps the background or anything, Like, I've heard that the people who make this game are kind of, or at least the people who run the Discord are kind of lefty douchebags. So I think it would be funny. Maybe I'll start up some lore about how the alchemists of the Iron Sheik area have found a way to clone Muhammad and see how that goes over. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we're gonna start cloning the holy people of people's religions, let's not stop at freaking Christ, man. Let's go ahead and talk about cloning Muhammad and see how they feel about it. And of course, we all know how they would feel about it. They'd freak the hell out. There'd be no whatever about that. It would be like just straight on, oh my God, I can't believe it, How dare you? And then of course the hardcore Muslims would be offended. And people like this, game designers and stuff, they're only gonna push what they know they can get away with. Like they know no Christian's gonna come after them and try and behead them or kill them for anything they do. They know that. But if they were to in any way disrespect Islam, yeah, they would just be done. And I mean, whether they meant to do it or not, they kind of already did, kind of in their own way, disrespect the hell out of the Jews. Because Jerusalem fell, a huge percentage of the people who were in Jerusalem at that time were Jews. And those people, were either murdered or joined the heretic legions. Is that what we're teaching here? The heretic legions, And also, since I'm kind of ranting, even though I'm putting together figures for the game, why do all the Heretic Legion guys look like World War I Germans when the Holy Roman Empire is on the good guys' side? You would think that all of the bad guys, I don't know what they would look like, but that the good guys would be wearing, near World War I type German equipment. I mean, because again, the Holy Roman Empire was neither Roman nor, I would say, holy, but they were 100% German. That's a fact. And Austro-Hungarian. So the whole Central is like every one of the Central Powers, for the most part, wore that kind of helm. Not the pickle helm specifically either. I'm talking about, the Stell helmet. And it's like all the heretics have Stell helmets on, the heretic military, while the good guys, well, I mean, Trench Pilgrims are wearing something based off a Spanish hat that was supposed to, sinners wore because that way they could try to redeem themselves or whatever. So, okay, fine. I can show this guy off. I need to do something to his back, but this is an extra Still Legion guy I had. Come on, stop shaking. And I gave him a shotgun and there's a name for that hat. It's like Capriotti. It's a Spanish hat that, monks would wear, actually. So, yeah, it was something that monks would wear, as a redemptive thing. Like, I don't know if they believed it would absorb their sins or exactly what they believed it would do, but it was, worn by monks. So they got that part right, you know, the whole monks doing things. They got right. So I'll give that to them. And they got a lot of the icons right. So I got to give that to them. But yeah, the forces of hell coming out of Jerusalem, the actual heretic army, should not be dressed like the Germans, since in this setting, the Germans are actually the good guys. Uh, excuse me while I crack open a sugar-free Sprite. Is it a Sprite or a 7-Up? I whatever, you know. A squirt. Oh, nice. What a treat. Grapefruit flavor. So there is that. Now, since I will be painting my guys to somewhat represent Russian loyalists, I'm going to be using a lot of like colors. My color palette, where it can be, is going to be very, very much Russian colors. So you're going to see Russian green and stuff like that. However, the metallic parts, let's do something here. I'm going to start with dark silver. And that's going to be like all the parts that I think are metallic. Because I don't know. Like, is that guy's breastplate metallic? Looks like it could be. Honestly, I'm not sure. His boots are definitely metallic because this guy was a miscast. And because I'll tell you why. The supports that the miniatures come with, the professionally supported by whatever, yeah, I printed 2 things using the pre-supported miniatures, and maybe it's just my Saturn 3 really hated the pre-supports, but every single time that I did it, both times, I guess I should say, I ended up with misprints, like crazy stuff. Like, it, like at one point I was trying to print up 3 of the Trench Pilgrim bodies, and of the 3, 2 of them misprinted, and then a bunch of other stuff misprinted as well that I had on that build plate. So it was like, really? So I went back and I actually just used my Chitta box and hit the freaking auto support, and all of a sudden, no problems. I'm printing everything up. Everything's coming out great. I've got a couple of stigmatic nuns. I actually like the story of the stigmatic nun, though. That's a cool story. And I honestly am not offended by the fact that the stigmatic nuns have heard the word of God. They believe that their job is to go to the Holy Land and wipe out demonic beings, right? And on top of that some of them will wear next to nothing, really, because they are empowered actually by their the wounds from their stigmatic wounds, as it was from the stigmata. So even though that's like probably more of a super Roman Catholic thing, I still kind of dig it. I still think that, that's actually pretty neat. That's a neat idea. And I like the miniatures. And for as woke as people say this group is, they sure didn't mind making some damn near buck naked women miniatures that you could play. Of course, there's also stigmatic knights in, or stigmatic nuns in pure, in heavy armor. You can get them reinforced armor if you want. That's reinforced with like prayers and, you know, holy metals and whatever. So you don't have to fill them damn near naked, but one thing about it is that when you're building your warband, if you're like me and you want to fill the maximum amount of stigmatic nuns, then you'll find that fielding the stigmatic nun with no armor and 2 hand weapons is way cheaper than fielding her with even basic armor, even 1, right? So it's not a matter of wanting to show off a bloody naked woman running across no man's land, killing everything with an axe and a sword, while she's covered in blood, like literally just dripping blood out of these wounds. It's somewhat of a just being pragmatic, because they're so good as units, and you might want a couple of them. I mean, I'm not saying run them out there and let them, get mowed down. You're going to have to use them right, because the lack of protection is going to make them pretty easy. See, I've just painted all of the metallic parts, including the barrel of the rifle, the butt of the rifle. I have to remember that. The butt of these rifles is metal in this dark silver color. That's what Pro Acryl calls it, dark silver. And I got sloppy there, but that'll be okay because the brown will cover it, right? So I'm going to let that sit for a minute. And I'm going to grab not Balon. This is my boy Victorian. Let's grab a little water. This, because I just got out here, it's not on a wet palette. It's drying pretty quick. And I'm going to undercoat him also with dark silver so that I can dry brush him up through, like gunmetal silver, and then finally like some other kind of silver. And I think that'll give a lot of depth and detail to his armor. He's wearing plate mail. And I know I've said this a billion times, but one thing about Victorian was that unlike all the other Greyjoys, he went out on his raids on his ship, the Victory. He wore plate mail. Like the rest of the guys on his crew even would be like, yeah, that guy's crazy. Because, and that makes sense. If you go over a ship wearing plate mail, you would go right to the bottom. There's nothing you can do about it. I know even in D&D, they have rules for if you're X amount of super strong or something, you could swim in plate mail. But the reality is no, you couldn't. I mean, look at the Battle of Agincourt when all these French knights literally drowned in 6 inches of water because they got knocked off their horses face first into the mud. And these guys were probably not all like super weak, noodle armed, pencil neck geeks over here, to quote a song that sometimes, Diversity and Dragons plays. These were big, brawny, the flower of chivalry. And literally they drowned in the mud because their armor was very heavy, very heavy. And that led to them. Well, okay, I've already said it. So if you're playing D&D and you've got a fighter in plate mail and he falls into the ocean, if you want to be a nice DM and let him, make a strength check to try and swim, that's on you. You can do that. But in reality, Yeah, that would never happen. That dude would be ultra dead. I think what's going on with these Dark Sword miniatures, the reason that some of the characters look so different than the plastic ones, which they also make for CMON games, is that they can get so much more detail on them. Like if they tried to do this Victorian in metal, but exactly like this, they probably could not have shown off the fact that there is a squid device on the front of the helmet. You know what I mean? Whereas with the metal casting, of course, they can get a lot more detail. All right. So that'll be that. Let's clean my brush off. I'm using just an old beat up brush right now. And we're just going hard and dirty on this, huh? Maybe. I don't know. Let's see what colors we got. No, I don't like that one. I mean, I'm looking for a specific color. A specific color. No, definitely not blood red. Nope. Nope. Where is my awesome army painter color? There's a specific color. Let me look under. These are my iron makers. They need to get painted too. But I'll do that, off camera. Metallic purple. I broke this out to paint the eyes of a Gnomekin warrior. Because Gnomekin have dark skin and very, very light eyes. And so I put her eyes in as metallic purple. I probably should go ahead and try the gemstone technique, put like little white dots on it, but all right. My wife is still coughing. She's still dealing with the ick. And I think the starter went out on our car today. We jumped in it to go get something. I don't even remember what we were going to get, honestly. And click, 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 click. And then, I went out there with we have an automatic, like one of those spare things to start your car if you have a problem. Hooked it up, made sure everything was right. Click, 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 click. So at least we know it's not the battery, but that doesn't make it any more fun, because it's like, damn, That, and it's cold and wet out, and that's bothering me a lot too, because my curing box broke. Luckily, I have like 100 UV light flashlights. But let me tell you, making like some kind of makeshift UV light thing to try and freaking cure this resin, which is why I don't think I'm going to paint any more of these for a while. There's what I was looking for. This guy I got really nice and cured because I literally just put him in a box with UV lights on him and turned him around every now and then and whatever. But no, I'm going to hopefully this weather will clear up soon, because the first sunny day we get, you know what I mean? You'll be able to cure anything just by sitting it outside for about 20 minutes on the side. You know what I mean? Because that's how sunny we get here in Florida, which is kind of awesome, right? But until that day comes, if I do any more prints, I'm going to have to do my best to get a little bit of hardness on them, but then set them aside and just wait for a good sunny day to take them out. I've got a plastic um, tray that the wife bought me, and it's literally like the same thing as the plastic trays they used to give you in school to get your lunch on or whatever. That's what it is. And I can put all the different things on it however I need to set them up and then take them out. And whenever I remember, because sometimes I'll forget and they'll be out there for like an hour, but then when I remember, I can go out and roll them around and stuff and make sure they get plenty of sunlight on them. Because I'll tell you what, the Florida sun has at least as much UV radiation on a sunny day as any curing box does. The only difference is you got to wait for it. It don't just sit underneath your desk. But like I said, the one I've had for the last couple years, it finally gave up the ghost, which it was, to be fair, it was a cheap Chinese thing. And my Elegoo Mercury or Venus or whatever, I tried to use that, and the UV lights on that thing didn't work either. I'm like, well, damn, how did that happen? But as you can see, doing this guy, that's a Desolation Brown I just put on him. So he is looking dirty, as he should, because let's be honest, this guy's going to be wading through the mud and stuff. He definitely should be not a clean guy. So we'll put him down there. Move this. And then take a break from this. Make sure I get my paints up so that I don't set an elbow in them or set my mouse on them, or there's any number of things that could happen, right? Then let's grab this and have a look and see how it will work. Okay. If I were to put this here, see, this is the thing. This is what I love, is the modification part. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's actually one of the things that got me into even looking at Trench Crusade. The thing that kind of sold me a little bit was when one of the guys that was talking about was like, you can basically just make your own army. So of course I did download some Trench Crusade stuff, but the fact that it's a fact, if you have pretty much any kind of miniatures that at all resemble World War I figures, you can pretty much, with very little work on your part, create an army to play. It's like, if you want to, for some reason, play the Forces of Hell, it would not be hard, especially if you had access to a box of World War I Germans, or, as I said in the one video, if you had access to Games Workshop cultists. But any cultists would work, any cultists would work, really. Like, I printed out a ton of Lovecraftian cultists, like a lot of them. right? And if I were to take their arms off, I would have to take their arms off because they're just carrying daggers. But if I were to take their arms off and paint them up to look like really demonic and give them, submachine guns and World War One style rifles and stuff, they would be 100% set. I mean, just set, ready to go. And that would be super easy to do. Now, let's see if this is going to work out for me. And it is. I shouldn't have doubted myself. See, this figure here, I think, is a desert warrior or something that I got from Anvil Industries. Sci-fi figure that would make a really good proxy for Tellarn Desert Raiders. But doing a little, an arm swap and a head swap. And now I've got a basic pilgrim. I mean, except unlike most of the pilgrims, this guy's actually got shoes on. He's not barefooted. And you would think that if you were a trench pilgrim, the second you could get your hands on a pair of boots, you would. Because who wants to be running around all that trench mud and stuff barefooted? That'd just suck, That would just suck. And I'm assuming my trench pilgrims, while they might be zealots and completely fanatical to serving God and kicking the hell out of hell, they are at least smart enough to grab some boots and other protective gear when they can, So, yeah, that is what I'm working with. Now, I'm going to give this guy an infield. I suppose I could go out in the garage and try and find some of the World War II Russians I got that I never actually built and grab a Mosin Nagant just cause. But no, he'll get an infield. Looks like there's going to be a little gap on that one arm, but nothing that a sliver of green stuff won't fix. So you see, now we've got a figure that started out as one thing and is soon going to be another. Because I've already borrowed out the head area so that I can put a pilgrim head in. And he's got a small little cape on his back. I can decorate him with icons and whatever. And he is ready to rule, ready to rock. I've got a bunch of what if World War I Confederate and Union soldiers. Might be neat to convert a few of those over. You know what I mean? So since I'm thinking about it, and I've got my fresh green stuff right out here, I just made a roll of it. I'm going to go ahead and take very little of it. Very, very little. Very, very little. Don't want to overdo this. Anyway, in other news, hey, JFK, RFK, and MLK, all the files released. That is what the old Trumpster's trying to do today. Let's see which judges try to fight him on that. Because that'll be something, won't it? I mean, they'll prove that James Earl Ray or whatever probably didn't kill JFK. It was probably the FBI that did it. Which makes total sense to me. Okay, this guy's shoulders covered by a cape, so he's only going to need one thing, and I have it right here. Look at this. Boom, and it's got an Orthodox cross on it even. So this guy's going to be super Orthodox Russian Empire, because this timeline, the commies would not even have tried the revolution yet. You know what I mean? Since everything went the way it went. Yeah, we're good with that. The Russian Empire still exists. And who knows? Maybe they'll maybe they'll make an army for them for New Antioch. I mean, they've made an army for the Scots. They've made an army for the Irish. And they've got an army made for Prussia. So, boom. So there we go. He's got his shield on the shoulder. I don't know if it'll focus in or not, but you can see it. And the last thing every trench warrior has to have, let me find a good one for him. That's right, guys. That's right. Got to have a shovel. I mean, you're in the trenches, man. What are you doing in the trenches without a shovel? Right? I mean, that don't even make any sense. Shovel, 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 man. Digging foxholes and bunkers wherever he can. I mean, I can put some other stuff on him too to make him even more trench pilgrimy. You know, I've got some little icons and stuff like that I can glue on. Like this right here, I can put on his belt, this little square. Now, whether or not I could ever paint it, I don't know. But this tiny little square actually says INRI on it, which we know is, you know, Jesus conquers all. And I could glue that to his belt just to give it, you know, a little more of that flavor. A little bit more of that flavor. Yeah, we can glue it right there, right next to his ammo parts. And hey, if you got a couple holsters left over from Stargrave or some Wild West miniatures or something, hey, you know, throw pistol on him if he's got pistol. Remember, this is a campaign game like Mordheim, so you don't really need to be throwing gear on people if they don't actually have the gear. I mean, you know. But and there you go. See, let's bumped it. See, there you go. From random sci-fi figure that I had no use for really, and probably would have given away or thrown away, to Trench Pilgrim, ready to fight for the glory of God and destroy the forces of hell. So this has been a long video. I'm going to end it here, and you know, I still do some painting, but end this here, maybe do something else. But yeah, so that's it. You can see how messy my desk is. Apologies. Peace and love, and keep gaming. And hopefully, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, make comments, and I will chat with you guys later.